Colleagues, we are commencing now. Honorable Speaker. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, with your permission, we wish to commence the proceedings of this press briefing. Members of the press, it is a parliamentary tradition that every parliamentary engagement commences with prayer. So we take a minute to pray silently for a successful convergence. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, Clerk, representatives of the majority and minority leaders of the National Assembly, my colleagues, Office of the Clerk, members of the press, welcome to the maiden edition of this, what will now become an all too familiar event moving forward, press briefing of the National Assembly. A forum that is designed to interact with you, the media, that help disseminate the information and the work that the National Assembly does for and on behalf of the Gambian people. The Honorable Speaker has directed that this is something that he wants to see quite often, and we are hopeful that it will culminate into even a much bigger engagement forum between the leadership of the Assembly and you, the members of the press. This morning, this median press briefing is being conducted with the support of the Table Office, that is the procedural department, the department that is responsible for all plenary businesses of the National Assembly. Cognizant that we are running short of time, we will go straight into business. What we want to advise is that this press briefing is strictly within the parameters of the first ordinary session of the National Assembly in the 2026 legislative year. We will have a slot where you, the members of the press, will be opportune to ask the leadership questions, and we advise that you frame the questions within the context of this press briefing. On that note, I now have the pleasure to call upon the Clerk of the National Assembly to set the stage as to why we have convened the media to the precincts of the National Assembly this morning. Clerk, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Director, Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, and of course, the Honorable Leadership of the House, the majority and the minority, duly represented by Honorable Abdullah Sisa, the Deputy Major Leader, and Honorable Musa Baji, representing the minority leader. Members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. As the Director just rightly said, we have convened this briefing not merely to announce the commencement of a legislative session, but also to outline a deliberate reform-driven approach as Office of the Clerk on how the National Assembly conducts its business in 2026. You could all recall or remember this is the first time the Office of the Clerk, and of course supported by the procedural department, is hosting a pre-session technical press engagement. This is the first time we're doing this. And just to inform you, that decision is not intentional, but it reflects a broader institutional reform that we're taking, whereby we're strengthening transparency, enhancing predictability, in legislative programming, departing from the usual way of just sending you our agenda for you to read through. And of course, deepening public understanding of parliamentary process, because through engagement, we will understand each other's work. And as we said, a modern parliament must not only legislate, but it must also communicate and of course anticipate and prepare. And these are all the reasoning why we convene in this as a best practice across parliament's jurisdictions. First, we talk about the session framework and the duration, just to update and inform you that pursuant to the already adopted agenda by the Assembly Business Committee on Wednesday, 11 February 2026, the National Assembly will convene its first ordinary session from 2nd March, that's next week, Monday, to 1st April 2026. That's the period for this first ordinary session. And this month-long session has been carefully, of some of you who are privileged with the already approved agenda, have been carefully architected in a strict adherence to our standing orders. When you talk about parliament, it's all about standing orders and its rules of procedure. With deliberate balancing of both legislative scrutiny, executive oversight, as well as administrative efficiency. The scheduling reflects both constitutional obligations and institutional discipline. Regarding legislative business and time allocation, the legislative workload before the assembly is substantial, you will understand, and consequential, indeed. Therefore, in accordance with Standing Order 61-2, proceedings on bills has been structured through first reading. Some of you understand what this parliamentary terminology is. Second readings, committee of the whole house, that's the consideration stage of bills, as well as the third reading, that's the final process of a bill to become a law in parliament. To ensure this predictability, fairness, and of course, efficient management of parliamentary time, while safeguarding robust debate, we have structured the session in this manner. But also to enhance the quality of legislation, the technical reports that will come out during this report or to be tabled are intended to inform the next level. So you could see every stage of the legislative process has an impact on the next stage. From the first reading to the second reading to the third reading, and in between the second consideration stage, that's what we call the committees will table their report to inform the consideration stage. So they are not cosmetic per se, but they are indeed a necessary requirement and procedure in our legislative process. Because some of you would agree that these reports, committee reports, would inform the whole assembly on some of the expert opinion or submission from various stakeholders. Because let's just say, for example, the access to information bill that was passed here. The press wouldn't have had input if it was only debated and considered at the assembly alone. But because press had an input at committee level, so those are the kind of opportunities or structures that help you to give input to the assembly during the legislative process. The other issue is about oversight. As you talk about, when you talk about oversight in parliament, you talk about, or in the assembly, you talk about correction and ministerial accountability. You will observe in the session, during the session, one of the key cornerstones of this session will be question for oral answers by ministers. Ministers have been scheduled to appear, and among them includes the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs will be appearing to answer questions. And the Attorney General and Minister of Justice is also part in the agenda. The Agriculture Minister, Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources, the Tourism and Culture Minister, Lands and Regional Government, Defense, Foreign Affairs, among others, are all scheduled to appear before members to administer oral questions for answers. Additional time, still on this accountability mechanism, has been allocated pursuant to Order 100 of the Standing Orders, which talk about ministerial replies. This provision is very critical in accountability. It requires the executive to provide formal and documented responses to resolutions and committee reports previously adopted by the Assembly. So each session, ministers are obligated and obliged, of course, to provide responses to previous reports that were adopted in the previous session. to provide the status situational report on those reports that were decided by Parliament. We also, during this session, will be witnessing several high-impact committee reports will be laid during this session, representing the conclusion of intensive fieldwork, audits, and of course investigative engagements. Among them is the report that will be tabled this session is the much talked about Special Select Committee on the sale and disposal of former President Jammeh's asset. The committee is expected to table their report during this session. And we also expect to see a report on performance audit within the agricultural sector and environmental legislation compliance. We expect to receive a report on infrastructure project monitoring and value for money assessment, among others. These reports, as I indicated, are not procedural formalities, but they are instruments of institutional accountability within our governance structure. The other components about the State of the Nation address. Some of you are aware already, a press has been dispatched that the President of the Republic, as required by law, is scheduled to address Parliament or a session of Parliament during this period as well. And a date is set aside, that is Thursday, 26 March 2026, for this constitutional requirement of him to address Parliament. So this is a significant event in our calendar, in our parliamentary calendar, and it's going to happen in this session as well. Regarding our administrative preparedness, from an administrative point of view, the service, particularly as you just said, the table office, has finalized all necessary documentation and procedural sequencing. And particularly, we have coordinated cabinet attendance schedules. We have communicated to them their different schedules required of them. We have prepared our daily order papers to make sure every daily sitting, the order paper is released on time, for the benefit of not only members but you, the press as well. We also ensure that compliance with constitutional and standing order requirements will be met during this session. We have also put in place internal tracking mechanism for legislative progression, and this would help also in your reporting mechanism. Our objective is to facilitate, as an administrative wing of the Assembly, a seamless transition from debate to decision, but also from scrutiny to resolution. This session would conclude on Wednesday, 1st April, with a motion on the adjournment. And we all know what that means, about where members will be debating cross-cutting issues about their constituents and of course Gambian issues at large. Our commitment to transparency remains steadfast, and our commitment to procedural integrity and as well as rule of law is already remain intact as an officer of the clerk. We recognize media as an indispensable partner in democratic governance, and that's the reason why we initiated this for the first time, so that we have that more interaction to understand among ourselves what are our role and responsibility. Therefore, throughout this session as officers of the clerk, we will ensure that official documents, order papers, committee reports, and of course procedural clarifications are made available to you, the press, and in a timely and of course structured manner. And we believe strongly that a well-informed public strengthens parliamentary democracy. That's our belief. And that is, and we can all, the people can only be well-informed through you, respectfully. And that's the reason why we are, of course, very much committed to this forum moving forward. Just to conclude to say, the first ordinary session is both substantial in scope and of course strategic in national importance. And we are procedurally prepared as officers of the clerk. We are administratively ready as well. And we are institutionally committed to delivering a session that reflects the dignity of this institution that we call Parliament, and of course the aspiration of Gambian people through you. We look forward to a productive and of course a very disciplined legislative period. I thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Clerk, for setting the tone for this briefing. And I think the response from the media as well also equally speaks to how much value the media attaches to the work of the legislature. We'll take a short pause. Members of the press, we'll allow you to migrate the mics before we introduce the Honorable Speaker. Thank you. And do that quickly, please. Thank you. Now we will take the singular honor to invite the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, who has championed the need for an open parliament, an accessible parliament, and a transparent parliament, to address the media regarding the first ordinary session of the National Assembly in the 2026 legislative year. Speaker, sir.
Thank you very much, Director. Honorable representatives of the majority and minority leaders, Honorable who actually is the deputy majority leader, and Honorable Musa Baji, representing the minority leader, the clerk and staff of the National Assembly Service, distinguished members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. Good morning to you all, and welcome to the proceedings of the National Assembly of the Gambia. It is my distinct honor to welcome you to this inaugural formal press briefing. For the first time in the history of the National Assembly, we are convening a structured media engagement ahead of an ordinary session. This initiative is a cornerstone of our open parliament policy designed to bridge the gap between the legislature and the citizen, ensuring that our legislative priorities are communicated with clarity and transparency. As the clerk said, from Monday 2nd March to Wednesday 1st April 2026, the National Assembly will be in session to discharge its constitutional mandates of lawmaking, oversight, and representation. The agenda for this session is strategically structured around 4 key pillars. The first one is the oversight and the physical discipline. In our commitment to safeguarding public resources, the session will commence with an oral ministerial statement by the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs. This statement will focus specifically on the implementation and monitoring of the 2026 annual budget. By demanding real-time data on public expenditure early in the fiscal year, this Assembly is moving to a proactive financial scrutiny. Our objective is to ensure that the appropriations approved by this Assembly are being utilized efficiently to improve the socio-economic welfare of the citizen. The number 2 pillar is the strategic legislative reforms. The Assembly will deliberate on several critical bills that form the bedrock of our National Assembly agenda. These bills include the National Security Council Amendment Bill 2026, which is aimed at modernizing our security governance architecture. The GAIPA Amendment Bill, the Intellectual Property Bill, and the Communications Bill, designed to foster investment and regulate the digital economy. The National Climate Change Bill and the Integrated Coastal Zone Management Bill will provide a legal framework for climate resilience. The Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Bill is essential for the integrity of our national identity and planning systems. The third pillar is institutional accountability, one that may deal with the Special Select Committee report, as earlier indicated by the clerk. And interestingly, the chair is with us here, who is the Deputy Majority Leader, member for Oryundum constituency, Honorable Abdullahi Sise. A significant highlight of this session will be the tabling of the report of the Special Select Committee regarding the sale and disposal of assets identified by the Commission of Inquiry. This report represents a milestone in our investigative mandate. It underscores the Assembly's role as the ultimate custodian of public interest, ensuring that disposal of national assets is conducted with the highest levels of integrity and in accordance with the law. The fourth pillar is sovereignty and national interest. The Assembly will further consider several motions of profound national and international importance, including the legal and diplomatic pathways for the restitution of Gambian artifacts removed during the colonial era. The other is ratification of the Gambia's membership in the Africa Mineral Strategic Group, and then the affirmation of our standing in international relations, including the One China policy. And then the fifth pillar is the State of the Nation address, as earlier on indicated by the clerk. In fulfillment of our constitutional requirement, His Excellency, the President of the Republic, will deliver the State of the Nation address, commonly called SONA, on Thursday, 26th March 2026. This will be followed by a period of robust constructive debate by honorable members, providing a legislative assessment of the government's policy direction and executive performance. The media undoubtedly should be our greatest friends. We represent the Gambian people. The nature of business of parliament is such that few Gambians come to attend. And therefore, it is critical that the press at least sends out, informs the general public what transpires in the chambers of the National Assembly. We will equally encourage you to, at all times, engage us, either my office or the office of the clerk, for clarity on issues pertaining to the National Assembly. We will have complete open door policy on issues that relate to these chambers. In conclusion, let me say that the first ordinary session is an ambitious one. It reflects a legislature that is responsive to the complexities of modern governance and the expectations of the Gambian people. To our partners in the media, we invite you to provide comprehensive and objective coverage of these proceedings. Your role is vital in ensuring that the work of the National Assembly is accessible to every Gambian, from the capital to the farthest regions of our country. Be rest assured that this National Assembly will remain as the sanctuary of our democracy. We are committed to conducting this session with the professionalism and transparency that our citizens deserve. May I seize this opportunity to thank you for honoring our invitation And I thank you further for your attention. Now, we'll be available for the next day as may be directed by the chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving us very detailed, in-depth into what to expect from 2nd March to 1st April. Members of the press, if I can still remember my journalism language, I think there will be a roving microphone, and the floor is now yours, where the Honorable Speaker, Clerk, and the leaders of the House are here. If you have a question or a comment or a concern, they will be happy to address it. If you want to ask a question, please rise, identify yourself and your media. I'm sure that we will be able to know who we are interacting with. Okay, I start with you, Mr. Mbaya. Okay. Please identify yourself and the media. Sorry, a moment. Can we have him, a mic to him, Sebu? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good morning. I am Mohammed Garmimbai, working for iAfrica TV. I have two questions, one for the Clerk of the National Assembly and the other one for the Deputy Majority Leader. Yes, to the Clerk, on numerous occasions, parliamentary sessions have failed to begin on time due to lack of a quorum. What concrete measures have been considered to address this recurring issue to avoid it in the future session? Yeah, that question is for the Clerk. So can I ask the second one? All right. The other one is to the Deputy Majority Leader. Why does the Majority Caucus frequently move to adjourn without allowing a debate, which is very important? So some people allege that you did it intentionally just to avoid scrutiny. So what are your response to that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will take 2 more questions before they will respond.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, Flex Dan, please take a moment.
No
Speaker
problem.
is directing that we allow every question to be answered.
No problem.
Okay.
Answers to these questions may clear some of your doubts that you may want to ask. So let's have two and then be followed by
Right, so Clerk, we start with you to provide a response.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mbaye, for that question. Very pertinent, and also for representing the Office of the Clerk to ask that question. Actually, yes, you're very right. These are one of the challenges in our operations as far as quorum requirements are concerned. You know, it's a constitutional requirement before the assembly starts each session. You must have half of all the members to be present. And if the rule went further to say if the quorum is not present at the time of the sitting, there are consequences like suspension and adjournment of the assembly. So those are the reasons why you see if quorum is not present until the speaker takes the chair, then he or she is left with no other option but to either suspend and call for members to come in or be adjourned to the next day. So as Office of the Clerk, our role is very limited on that because these are responsibility of members to make themselves available. What we do, our role is to make sure that all the documentations and of course the instruments that facilitate the work of members are ready and available for them. So at our level, we make sure that all those things are intact. But to get member, and we also make sure that the documents required of that session is given to members on time, and we release the order paper on time and indicating the time for the sitting, so to facilitate members to come in time. So regarding them coming on time to meet the quorum requirement on time, that's the burden on them that they should fulfill. And I think maybe the members themselves, it's good that both the majority and the minority are here. They'll maybe want to see how best they can improve on that. But let me just say this from an administrative point. Knowing this challenge, but somebody would ask, what is the role of the office of the clerk to make sure that we mitigate this challenge? It's a recurrent issue. That we have mentioned that we have done a very good sensitization within these whips. Each group has a whip. You have the majority chief whip, you have the minority chief whips. And it is the responsibility of those whips to make sure that their members attend session. So now our responsibility as office of the clerk is to help those whips to execute their functions effectively. And once they execute their function effectively, definitely the quorum issue would be a thing of the past. And I'm very hopeful this time around, particularly this session, quorum issue would be a thing of the past or greatly minimized, because with the help of the whips at both sides of parliament. Maybe the honorable speaker want to add something on that. Thank you.
I would allow the majority leader and of course the representative of the minority leader also to say a few words on this issue.
All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mohammed, for that question. Generally, Parliament, as we all know, the decisions of Parliament are made by the majority of members. And if I say majority here, that doesn't mean the majority caucus. That is the membership of Parliament. So when it is time for debate, let's say adjournment debate, decisions are made by members of Parliament. I mean, Parliament cannot proceed.
Are you answering your question?
Yeah, my question, yeah.
No, no. Before you answer your question,
okay.
can you elaborate, yes, on this particular issue?
Oh.
Quorum issue. And after you also allow the minority also to come up on it.
All right, that's fine. Like the clerks rightly said, when it comes to quorum, we have what we call the majority chief whip, who's responsible for mobilizing the members to ensure that they all attend session on time. But from our end, we have our WhatsApp groups. We used to communicate on the WhatsApp group to ensure that members are communicated to, that they should attend the session on time. But sometimes it's a problem. I mean, that, like the clerk said, it's the burden of the member to ensure that he attends session on time, because that is why he is being elected to represent the people in Parliament. But from our end, I think we will improve on that. It has happened, I mean, about two times, if I remember. We will have to improve on that communication part, of course, also to strengthen our chief whip, to be able to communicate and take decisions in our WhatsApp groups on members as well. We will definitely strengthen that. Right.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Clerk, thank you very much for that question. And I think I couldn't say it better than what the Deputy Majority Leader just said. Actually, normally, sometimes concurrent activities happen. And sometimes when session is in place, you have other international engagements. ECOWAS might be on, IPU might be on. Some delegates have gone officially on official duties. But that notwithstanding, it's done taking into consideration that the remaining members are more than what we need as a quorum. Now, those remaining ones, most of the time, the onus lies in them to ensure that they attend proceedings on time. But this has to be also a coordinated effort emanating from the chief whip, as the clerk and the deputy majority leader has just said. We need to strategize more at the level of the chief whip to ensure that certain emergencies are inevitable, but then we ensure that whatever happens, National Assembly duties takes precedence, takes overriding time of all members when session is on, whatever exercises you might have. So sometimes that is what we need to improve upon. The chief whips must strengthen their efforts to ensure that we do not fall into those kind of hitches again. And I think it is no fault of the admin under the office of the clerk, but this is entirely the chief whip and the majority and the minority camp to ensure that they meet the requirements. Thank you very much.
Just add a few things. Yeah, let me just add a few words. I think this is a very important question. We are all aware that Parliament is accountable to the people. The only institution that Parliament is accountable to is the people. And when decisions are being taken in Parliament, it is very, very important that all parliamentarians come to attend. But we are also aware that parliamentarians, their core functions, one is legislative, the other one also is representation. And you more often than not, when the electors call, parliamentarians tend to at least listen and go. People will go and attend funerals, some other things within their consequences that they think they also owe to the people, to those services. The other thing is, we try to avert this problem through many ways. One is, we are trying to look at our own regulations to see what can happen to overcome this problem. If you don't come to parliament, probably we may publish your name that the people know that their representative X is not coming to parliament, or it's not regular at parliament. That may be one form. That's why what we are now doing some internal homework to find best ways as to how we resolve this problem. In other jurisdictions also, what happens is, because of these problems, the only time parliament needs quorum is the first day, the session. When we have sessions, like on Monday, we are going to start the session for 30 days. The first day is the only day that you need a quorum. When you have a quorum on that day, all other days to the end of the session, if there are 10, 15, 20, 30 people, parliamentarians, work continues. No more quorum. Because they know that to get everyday quorum for parliamentarians may be difficult and may block the work of parliaments. But it's a concern, and we are looking through it, trying to borrow best practices also, and to see what we can do to encourage parliamentarians to come to parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I think Honorable Majority can also answer the second question directed to you.
Yes, I was going to answer the question. Like I said, I am first of all going to deny the fact that the decision was taken by the majority caucus, not to debate. Like I said, decisions in parliament are taken by the majority of members. I mean, when we sit in chambers, yes, you can see both minority and majority. But when we are taking decisions, we take decisions based on our membership. So Speaker cannot proceed with anything without the decision of the majority of members in parliament. That is how it works. So if the majority say they're not going to debate, that is the majority of members and not the majority caucus per se, just for your understanding.
Thank you very much, Honorable. We will go to the second round of questions. May I have Flex? Please introduce yourself and your media.
Thank you very much. My name is Yusef Taylor for Askanwi Media. I have two questions. The first question, Honorable Speaker, is directed to you, sir. You talked about your appropriations, parliamentary appropriations, and it having a positive impact, somehow paraphrasing. But my question is about the finance minister. We've noticed numerous times the finance minister has failed to bring the update on how the budget is being spent, right, to Parliament. And we've even seen the one which went very serious was him failing to bring the budget even on time, right? And we've seen the decision at the courts, what has happened from there. My question is now, will this Parliament from henceforth ensure that the finance minister brings the update on the budget expenditure every session, at least once, and that's what the standing order says. So that's my first question, sir. And then my second question is going to the clerk. My second question is going to the clerk. Clerk, thank you very much. But my question is regarding the constituency development fund. I know last year I was reporting on it, and I'm very grateful you did respond to me, to my inquiries. Where are we with it? Is it the same as this last year? Because I know that there were some challenges for some of the members. Yes, they didn't get their constituency fund, and the constituency fund has had experience some challenge. Is this year any better? Are we on track? Will they be able to access the constituency development fund and, do those projects, sir? That's my question.
Thank you very much, Flex. We will first allow the clerk to come in before the speaker provides a response to your answer. Clerk, sir. We will allow the clerk to come first, then Honorable Speaker, you will then answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my brother. Flex. You forget to say Flex as well. Anyways, thank you for the question. Though ordinarily I would have overruled that question, but because we said we are friends, the CDF is not within the scope of the session anyway. But let us be just generous to say, yes, we acknowledge that there was one particular year the CDF was not paid. But as we all know, budget is just a forecast and it's an estimate. Sometimes you can realize the estimate, sometimes you cannot realize the estimate. So maybe that's what happened that particular year. But last year, it was duly implemented, and this year is on course. Certainly, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. If I understand you well, you talked about budget updates, why the minister usually does not bring it to Parliament on time. And you also, if I remember you well, you also said sometimes even the budget, it comes to Parliament late. I know you are making reference to. You see, remember, Parliament usually, what the law talks about a session of about 30 days. It was Parliament that felt that there is need for members to scrutinize the estimates that the budget well before it is tabled in Parliament, to allow them to do research on it, to go on conferences, whatever, engage others, engage constituency, etc. That's why it was amended that budget should be submitted at least 60 days, that's from the 1st of November. That was to give Parliament at least time, not to rush them through. And that change had caused a lot of problems, because this change was effected by a private member's bill. That's Parliament themselves. We did that law. So it may not be very convenient to the executive. So what happened also was they had their own engagement between themselves and with their international partners. And usually these things were done at a specific period, that is October, November. And now it's no longer December as for budget. It now starts on November. That created some problems for them to readjust. We acknowledge and we appreciate that we don't state that. Some of the reasons are used. It's not for us to determine that. I think in my judgment I made that very clear. That it's not for Parliament to decide whether the minister, if he does not bring the bill or the budget estimates, what should happen to the budget, that Parliament should not consider it. No, there's no law that talks about it. For us, when it comes, it should come. When there is, for instance, as happened, citizens can challenge it. Is it right or wrong? And that's judgments, we have all seen it. So we are now pushing very hard, if you listen to my deliberations, to ensure that we are on top of issues, that the Minister of Finance is able to give us updates on even the implementation of the budget. As we go quarterly, we should be able to come to Parliament and tell us this, what has happened, these are the challenges, and etc. We should be able to do it. That's the enforcement part, that's the oversight part. We are going to make sure we follow up on that. But we should also understand that there are sometimes technical problems, administrative problems that you cannot do much about. But we are hopeful that we will improve on those issues.
Please, no supplementary question, please.
Let me hear. Accountability. Yes, this is what I'm saying. You know, for instance, it's we take people to task. Accountability on the part of Parliament. Yes, there will be. I wish you are sometimes in Parliament yourself. I wish you are sometimes at the various committee stages of Parliament. It is sometimes very tough, but we are dealing with human beings. For me, what we believe, what I believe, is we should all ensure that we go according to the law. But I also believe that these are man-made laws. They are not the Quran and the Bible. In the operationalization of the law, you may come across certain things that we are not foreseen. So as human beings, we must look at it, because the essence is how best can you serve the people? How best can we provide the relevant services to the people of the country? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Colleagues, we will insist on no supplementary questions. We will give that opportunity of a supplementary question to another colleague to ask a first question. Can I have QTV? Aliu.
Good morning. My name is Aliu Sise, QTV. My question still has to do with the issue of absenteeism and, of course, the lack of quorum. I mean, previously, what we used to hear from MPs campaign was the issue of mobility, that they struggle to come to Parliament. Speaker and Clerk, you have reassured us that this is going to change, I mean, going into the next session. I would like to know from you, if this persists, will you accept that there's a failure in leadership under the current legislature? And if yes, what action will you take?
Is that directed to the Speaker?
Any one of them can answer.
Honorable Speaker, okay.
The problem is, how would you ascribe that to failure of leadership? We are governed by our own standing orders. And the standing orders provides what should be done. Now, for a parliamentarian to absent himself from Parliament, you can be absent for 9 times without any repercussions. That's the law. It is only when you are absent consecutively for the 10th time that Parliament may resort to other disciplinary measures, like even expulsion. But you know, in most jurisdictions, parliamentarians, is now their moral compass that dictates them. But they can stay at home and do some other things without coming to Parliament. It's common in every jurisdiction. So it's now dependent on the parliamentarian to know that he has been selected out of many to come and represent them. So you must take it very seriously. That's what is important. As I said, we are trying to find out. We are trying to see how best we can encourage. Yes, before it was mobility. We agreed. And mobility has been resolved. There are still some other issues. But key amongst it, we will find, as I said here, we are trying to see how we can borrow best practices. We're doing some work on our own regulations and probably on our own standing orders to see how we can amend them. In fact, I told you people, we may go out to publish names of those people who have not been attending Parliament each session, so that the electorates know that their representative A, B, or C is not coming to Parliament. Because that's the best we can do. And the other thing may be is to see some inducements. But those things can only come following regulations. But I hope and pray that with all these things, we will improve. Parliament attendance will definitely improve.
Thank you very much. Honorables, anyone want to add? It's fine. All right, thank you. Can we have Mr. Sedi? Identify yourself and your media.
Thank you very much. My name is Yaya Sedi from Voice Out Digital. My question will go to the Deputy Majority Leader and maybe the clerk. Any one of you can answer the question. My question is, during this first ordinary session, how much time has been allocated for the report of the Special Select Committee on the sales and disposal of assets of the former president to be tabled and debated?
Thank you very much, my brother. Of course, that's given. If you look at the agenda, in fact, I know it would have been different thing if we had said otherwise in the agenda, but it's a special one as the name implies. So the whole day is dedicated for that report. No time limitation. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, we quite understand that in a house full of journalists, questions will continue to be raining. But we are equally mindful that the Right Honorable Speaker has another engagement immediately from here. And in that regard, we beg to draw the curtain to this press briefing here. Honorable Speaker, members, clerk, we thank you very much for this media and press briefing. And colleagues, journalists, may we rise to allow the Honorable Speaker and members to leave the hall, and we will follow right after. Thank you. Colleagues, as the Honorable Speaker and members leave the team, if you need additional pictures, if you need a re-recording of the audio, please reach out to the Assembly Communications. They will assist. Thank you. And we thank you so much. Musu? Do we have Musu? Seku? Okay, Cecilia. What is he? Musu, we need you here. Now, one.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation and also for coming. Hello. So for all of you that are not part of the parliamentary reporters page, you can list with Flex. He would add you into the group chat. It is where we add and send all notifications and engagements about Parliament. So you can list with Flex Dan. He'll be able to add you in the group, and then you would be updated on all activities of Parliament. We are really grateful for your attendance. The media has been one of the strongest or the biggest partners of Parliament, and thank you for honoring our invitation.